I'd like to call the meeting to order. First of all, I want to note that we have a brand new board member named Adam Nelson. Welcome. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Just very briefly, I just moved to the area. I was spending the last 12 years or so at a school in Taipei, and then briefly was running a school in Brooklyn, and now moved to the area and am executive director at Rochester Arts and Sports Academy.
Oh, great. Welcome.
Yeah.
All right, so of course the public is free to attend the meeting in public, in person, and the meeting is being streamed on the library's YouTube channel, and a recording is made available after the meeting at the city's website. Now is a time for a public comment period. Are there any community members that would like to address the board? All right. Okay, let's call to order. Dee?
Here.
Teresa?
Present.
Adam?
Present?
Steve?
Here.
Craig?
Here.
Nick is here too. Let's see, motion to the agenda. I wanted to add one item, and it regarded the possibility of sharing brief board bios with board members, and that was kind of related to the committee assignments down in 5D, but because that particular item, board bios would probably require some discussion. It needs to be moved down to reports and recommendations. So that would be the only adjustment that I have to the agenda. Are there any other? Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we get to updates and reports. The Rochester Public Library Foundation.
Hi, I'm Brenda Cardock. I'm the executive of the Rochester Public Foundation. Tomorrow is Give to the Max Day. It's Minnesota's Day of Giving. They give away $500 golden tickets, is what they're called, every 15 minutes. So we always try to strategize to see if we can get a golden ticket. We've gotten 2 since I've been executive director since 2019, so that's not too bad. So we're trying to get people to give $5 or more, so that we hopefully can trigger it. Our board is trying to donate between 4:45 in the morning and 5 a.m. Figuring people might not be up, but you can donate any time of the day, and I'd love to send out a link to everybody, or you can check media. And thank you for considering that. We have our speakers for WIT. Teresa Waldup is going to be our speaker. Meteorologist from KMT, Sean McAday, and Chef Seth Aslar, who was at Empire Events and did our event last year, is coming back, and it's going to be we had a tasting a couple weeks ago, and it was really good. Roulade, ricotta, raviolis, it's gnocchi. It's going to be really amazing. They're going to have stations where you can customize your pasta with the chef tossing it all in front of you. There's 3 stations, and I think that we're going to try to see if local people that attend want to throw in some money to go up and do the demo with them. So we'll work out those details. I skipped over kind of an important part. I know that you all are looking at your budget for 2024. We're doing that too. And then on Thanksgiving, our auction kicks off. It's our 4th annual, and our goal is $10,000. Right now, if we get 50% of the retail, I think we'll get about 12,000. So crossed that we will be able to do that. My last item, which is probably the next page, is we're looking for sponsors for WIT. And right now we have 18 sponsors, so it's looking good, but we still have more. There are some exclusive categories, so if you know of a business that would like to get a little please send them their name to me and I'll reach out very gently with information.
The link out.
Sure.
Because it's just-
Starts at midnight.
But 4:45 AM is when you want us to do it.
So you'd like us to actually do the 2 AM slot?
No, the first year we did it, I had volunteers and they signed up for an hour and so we had them somebody took the midnight to 1 to 2. Some people bribed their children to get up and do the
Nothing
2
wrong
a.m.
with that?
I'm not mentioning any names, but but it seems like we have just as good of a chance if we like put all of our efforts into one little 15-minute segment, and then we have more chances in that segment. So maybe next year we'll try to do it the day before and see if that works. Because they do give tickets the day before, but tomorrow will be every 15 minutes. They give $500, and at the top of each hour, whoever gave in that hour will have a chance to get 1,000. And not the donors themselves, but it goes to the organization.
And then you'll split it with us.
I'd like to, but you know.
It all goes to
So-
the library.
So it's better off to give $5 like every 15 minutes or every hour as opposed to
I've done that. I have
$100
dogs that
once.
wake me up sometimes in the night, and if I get up and I'm like, oh, it's 3 a.m. Or no, it's 3:14. I'm gonna get in a donation real quick, and then watch it turn to the next 15 minutes and give another donation. But I don't expect everybody. But you know, that's your strength. You can join me. And we do find out who gets us the golden ticket. So I sent you a really nice thank you back. And you know, if it's UD, I'll take you out to it's not $500, but
It's worth it.
you know.
All right, thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Friends of the Rochester Park.
Hi, I'm Val Kalashewski. I'm president of the Friends, and we would like to recognize Al Dollarshell. Has been honored at the state level as a standout friend by the Minnesota Association of Library Friends organization. Al is a retired librarian from the RCTC library who joined the Friends group in 1997. He also volunteered, worked part-time and volunteered here at the library. But I think he's officially, fully, completely, finally retired now. But he joined the Friends group in 1997, and he served on the board for nearly a decade in the early 2000s. And when I put together the presentation to forward up to state, I hadn't done a lot of research on the history of the Friends here at Rochester Public Library, which I am now actively doing. And I found out that Al has theater skills. In the spring 2004 newsletter, there's a photo of him and another woman dressed up as worms, and they read wormy poetry at a some annual meeting kind of event. And then a couple of years later, at a staff appreciation breakfast, Al dressed up as a dumpster diver, and he had written a song to the tune of Wouldn't It Be Loverly, which I think is a My Fair Lady song. And the lyrics that he wrote were about books and reference librarians. And apparently he was giving out treasures from his dumpster diving to the attendees. So I asked him if I could get a copy of the lyrics, and he says he thinks they're permanent. But the biggest reason we wanted to recognize Al is because for the past 19 years, he has maintained an online used bookstore to sell valuable donated books to benefit the Friends, which obviously benefits the library. He has single-handedly raised over $110,000 by selling over 5,800 books. And he pointed out that probably meant 5,000 and almost 800 trips to the post office to mail those books off. He's also, when he travels, which he loves to travel, he collects figurines related to reading. And a couple of years ago, he was at our annual meeting in pieces were his reading, his figurine collection. They were just fabulous. For this award, he received a signed certificate and a free book from Minnesota author Alan Eskins, who writes mystery, thriller, and suspense novels. And he received his most recent published one, Saving Emma, which was just published in September. So anyway, we want to recognize Al. And then I also want to point out holiday shopping, in addition to doing the silent auction that is coming up over Thanksgiving for the foundation. The Friends Bookstore will be open extended hours on the Saturday after Thanksgiving for participating in Small Business Saturday. They will have drawings for gift baskets and specials throughout the store. And then the weekend after that, we're having our auditorium gift quality book and bake sale. So this is inventory that's been set aside throughout the year where it's really good quality. Prices are as marked. It's not the 50 cents to $2. It's not garage sale quality. It's gift quality. And we're having a bake sale. So you'll be getting emails because you're on our friends member list. You'll be getting emails from me soliciting baked goods. And we also will plan to have free gift wrapping. So you buy something cool that you don't want to see, you can have it wrapped. Any other questions for friends?
All right, thank you. Selco update.
No report this month.
5D, receiving and filing committee assignments, information as incoming president district. Am I still incoming? I'm
You're
here.
here,
I'm
you
here.
arrived.
Okay. We'll be assigning committees for 2024, expecting email to be sent to you asking for your preferences. And that was one of the reasons that I wanted to bring up the idea of short board member bios, because I simply don't know the background. Shouldn't be strangers. Number 6, items 6A minutes for the library board meetings of October 18. 6B accounts payable for November 9. 6C the October 2023 monthly reports and the contracts signed by the library director can all be voted in block.
I would move to approve the consent.
Is there a second? Are there any questions related to any of the reports? I did bring up something to Karen, and I think it's useful to sometimes share these things. When I went to the library circulation report, I see that the overdrive in media circulation has gone way beyond even pre-pandemic levels. And I asked her, and in fact, the book circulations have almost reached the pre-pandemic levels as well. But
I believe if we want to share, we want to pull from
we,
I'll look to my
Yeah,
friends
if
who I
you-
need to, unless you're just gonna make.
You should remove it from the consent.
okay, so I should move to which part of these?
So we have a motion on the floor, so I made it up. I would just recommend that we approve the consent agenda, accepting item 6C. And then 6C would just fall
up
to
next.
be the next item.
Is that amending? That's amending. So you don't have to-
Motion.
The
Amend the motion.
cheap
So
way
I'll
is since I
second.
made the motion, whoever seconded the original motion just seconds it. Otherwise, we have to then
Yeah.
vote on amending it.
So we approve the motion.
He's
If
changed
Laura,
it as
you
Laura
agree to the
will
change,
I agree.
then just
Proceed.
all in favor of consent.
All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so
that's
then,
6C.
so then that becomes 6C.
Teresa,
So now we can discuss this.
yes.
All right. So go ahead.
So I believe the question was,
How does this affect the?
pointing out, and I appreciate pulling out just for this informational piece of, yes, we do recognize that we've seen an increase in accessing our digital content. Talk to our selectors and they will tell you that, it's very, very popular. We did share earlier at the beginning of the year when we did our presentation, how it really can't be a one-for-one replacement of library materials. It is a very expensive, we wouldn't move all to digital if it isn't. So it's something that we keep in mind, but it is something that we are watching. We do have a decision pack in the budget for 2024, which will increase the amount of money that we have to spend on digital by $50,000. So we're looking at how we'll be lighting that up and should be approved by city.
So that would be an addition. It doesn't impact the book. Physical.
It doesn't, I mean, you could argue that some folks might find the digital copy and so they'll be able to access the digital copy and then somebody might free up the physical copy for somebody else. But you're right, the budget line is earmarked towards that digital media. And we had put in that request, the finance committee, we had prioritized some of those requests, including asking for additional funding for physical. That increase in that budget line was not something that was approved that made it through the budget process.
All right. Any other comments?
I will highlight too that while we are seeing this giant increase in the number of folks accessing our overdrive, we are seeing an increase in folks accessing our youth materials in the physical form. That is something that we're not all the way back to the same number of people coming through our door and being in the library in person, although that's starting to towards 2019 numbers.
That too is almost the overdrive.
Yeah.
Since 2000.
And we have made some changes, so we have more content in our overdrive. We don't have more space for physical, so that is actually gotten smaller. We do have access to Traverse Sue collection as well now, so expanding the number of titles people have access to is meeting some needs. We introduced people to overdrive during the pandemic, so that there's part of that. And we continue to watch how our physical and digital collection is kind of landing post.
All right, moving on to
Do we need to approve those reports?
Yeah.
oh.
If we need to vote on that,
What's that?
do we need to vote on that? On the report?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so I move that we accept
Is there a
6C.
second?
I'll second.
Sorry to make this.
Alright.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Down to 7A, 2023 foundation allocation. Approving the recommended adjustments to the 2023 foundation.
That also ties back to those budget priorities. So in the early part of the year, we had put in a decision pack request for a outreach vehicle with some of the foundation allocation being earmarked towards that project. That was another item that didn't make it through the budget process. So there is this dedicated set of money that we would like to shift towards the space study instead of using the library reserves. This would not diminish what we are asking city council for tax levy for the portion of the study, so it would still be that city library 50/50 split, it just means to be less of our reserves. Seems to make sense.
I would move that we approve that.
For a second. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Can I ask if assuming the foundation is okay with that? That was reasonable.
Yeah.
I didn't see any commotion over there. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7B, 2024 foundation.
And this I wanted to bring, it might feel a little bit early, but I wanted to make sure that we have the staff or the board direction for myself and the rest of our team. Right now, in the 2025 budget, we have a decision package for library safety and security. And that is, when the budget gets approved for 2024, it isn't an automatic yes for 2025 for those decision packs. For the budget lines, there's not a lot of adjustments. Those are like a soft approval of the budget lines for standard budget lines, but not for anything above and beyond the budget, the approved budget. The decision packs still will take a council vote for 2025. So it's not a guarantee that when city council approves the budget for 2024, even though it's a 2-year budget cycle, it's not a guarantee that they are automatically approving the decision pack. However, we have seen this need for the safety security specialist. It was identified as a priority, clearly. And that's why it's a decision pack for 2025. But one idea of one of the ways that we could utilize our foundation allocation is by starting this position with a limited term employee position, depending on the amount of the allocation and the length of the limited term appointment. There are some pros and cons. Obviously, for us, the pros is we've identified that that's a need. So when incidents are happening, our teammates, desk staff are responding. Often folks working the desk, which takes them away from helping customers. That's one of the primary reasons that we really want this position, because when people are in public spaces, there can be incidents that happen, and it's not a security guard per se or a social worker, but is somebody that can be that Walmart greeter style position that can assist when there is an incident and so can provide some continuity to folks coming in the building and building relationships. And so what we'd like to do is I'd like to get your feedback in a sense of your direction. This is something that we need to prioritize, and I should work with the foundation to build that out and bring back a formal proposal, because city council would need to approve, authorize. Well, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. I take that back. They wouldn't.
So I have a question. When you say limited term, would you then be looking at starting that position based on the size of the allocation, starting that position in May, because you'd be able to have continuity for the manager?
Yes.
Not like starting someone and then they go away and then in 20. I'm just curious about that because of the continuity piece.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a critical position for public libraries, and because of that relationship management. Not that staff doesn't have relationships, but that, there develops this kind of understanding of what people are coming into the library in terms of self. So
Yeah,
that's why I'm asking.
absolutely. What we would need to identify as staff is what that ideal time might look like. Perhaps it's something running through like July through January, which would cover us and ensure us should the position get funded.
Yeah.
It should hopefully leave us not without a person for a time after it started.
And then would there, let's say it takes budget process to 2026 to catch up? Could it be something you used foundation allocation for again in 2025 necessary, or?
Potentially, yeah. We would be starting a whole new budget
Yes,
process,
right.
so, yeah. If for some reason it's not something that is funded in 2025, then that could be something that would be.
It's just been my experience that both staff and patrons really like this type of position, so I'd hate to see it.
We, the duties of this, he or she have to be worked out.
Correct, yes. And that's still something that we didn't want to really start on, and we were planning not really start on until much later in next year or the early part of 2025. But when we were thinking about ways to use the foundation allocation, we look at what our really great needs are. It's been identified. I mean, this is something that we really want to make sure we're supporting our customers, supporting our
Background.
So we've looked at the position that we explored in looking at this type of position. So they were looking for folks that have either, they ended up with a social worker. I mean, by luck, that wasn't the skill level or requirement for the position, but it was really that position of relationship building and not more of a like security guard,
Yes.
but more of a relationship builder.
So critically important. I'm really glad we asked that.
And just for our board's awareness, because I don't think nobody on the board at the time, years ago, we did have contract security. So it wasn't something new that we've thought of as far as safety in our spaces. There was varying degrees of success with that. One of the biggest issues was not really being a true library employee that can provide that connection to the library, that embodies the library's values and understands the vision and mission of the library. I mean, the skill set really is relationship building, being able to fill out incident report. These are all skills that we have at the desk level. So all of our teammates that work on public desk know how to fill out an incident report, know how to communicate effectively with first responders. Potentially, this person can have more skills, whether it's maybe somebody that has some Narcan training or other things that can be part of it.
And remind me if the status of the social worker that
Yeah, so
position.
right now we have once a week, Olmsted County does have social workers. We have social workers on site from 1:30 to 5 every Thursday. And that obviously is different than what we had before with the that social worker pilot project. But it's been helpful, absolutely. But it is different.
This security, safety and security specialist is replacing or no social
No,
worker.
thank you for asking that and clarifying that because no, they would not be a social worker. Really, that value of being able to walk around. We would want to pay a social worker to walk around. They have very specific set of skills to do it. This person could, however, say, have a stack of cards about the social worker hours should those continue.
And this person would be essentially a point person when there are.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think there's a benefit to having some continuity. Obviously, they couldn't be here all of the hours that we are open. This would be a 40-hour-a-week position. We are open 64 hours. So we know that there is still some responsibility that falls to the desk staff. But we also have data on when we
Yeah.
tend to have some busier times than others. And they're surprising. They're in the afternoon on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, or don't quote me on that, but it was surprising when we looked at the numbers a while ago. So,
2 months back, I witnessed quite, and it was very disturbing. I was right there, and it was, and afterwards I thought it was obviously employees cannot endanger themselves, and it would be good to know how this would have handled that. It was a probably gonna happen again, I hope not.
and there's still going to be a space for using some de-escalation tactics, right?
Yeah.
Or calling for police. Like we were still this position would not replace police. We are
In
so
any
grateful
way.
that we.
Make sure no one gets hurt.
Yeah. Well, and they're really, and there's, right, this is something that larger library systems have been dealing with for a long time. So there's a lot of research and information available on how to craft something that's effective. But they are really, and the relationship part is to help people understand the policies and the utilization of a library. For something that becomes criminal, they're armed with a phone to ensure that first responders can get here.
And I will point out and note that, Duluth did this after a library employee was punched in the face. So it was very dramatic interaction that happened in Duluth. They started theirs sometime last year, and they are actually adding another one.
Any other discussions?
So the proposal, I guess, before you is to, the recommendation that I think we're making is just, we would like to utilize these funds and bring back a recommendation how that position would be crafted out for a more formal recommendation of utilizing that.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, we've got this new item, 7C. This is sort of related to the fact that I need to appoint individuals to committees, and I am kind of scratching my head in terms of what I know about people on this board. I'd like to try to place people where they would not only like to be, but where they would probably have a kind of a background. And the idea had come up of the possibility of asking board members to provide a paragraph on their background, maybe 5 to 7 sentences.
I think we applied, did we provide that?
So that is a very separate process, and
Okay.
so the mayor's, and if that's the route we could go down, I could reach out to the mayor's office and have it really is part of the mayor's process, and then we receive a link. So I think there was a misconception that I was receiving information about
It was
everyone when they
all
were
in there.
appointed, but it really.
I don't even remember what I wrote.
That's the feeling, do I have to write it all again?
So
Yeah, that's what you're gonna think. Darn it, yeah, it already exists.
So the idea is if you could compose a 5-6 sentence brief paragraph on your background, what you consider to be important to better know you, I'm gonna look around the room, I kinda know, but I don't know. I don't wanna start having to Google people. I mean, if you Google me, you can find stuff on me, but it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, I should know you better. We should know each other better. So if the idea would be to provide, I guess, Karen, that paragraph, and you would put it together as a package that would then go to the board members, and we would all have the same description of everyone's. And that's all. Don't need to have pictures. And so I wasn't sure how. Okay.
Why not?
All right. So by when? Well, I don't know. How about by this time next week? Give you a week to put it together, and then you
I
just
can follow up with an email.
yeah, and as including the board members who are not here, and then put it in a package. The other thing related to this, I guess, would be when we get new board members. We had a new board member the last meeting, and I didn't know anything about it, and I had to ask her name. Well, I didn't see her, but I had to ask if she could tell us about her. It'd be nice to know that you're going to be here, and we've already read about Adam and the other person, and so we already know. No surprise.
Yeah, I think it would
So
feel
when are
better.
you informed?
I wasn't.
The mayor's office doesn't, or the council, they don't let us know.
Yeah, and I think historically, I think we found out at meetings, but that we can absolutely,
We don't have to
Change
do
that.
it this way.
yeah, we don't,
Yes,
yeah.
no.
We need to improve it.
It would feel better to an incoming person to know that.
Right,
we were slightly surprised, right? Yeah.
Like, who's this?
Well, how did we know to make
Sure.
a name badge for?
So we get names, but bios we don't know. So
Okay.
we get names, and actually appointments made at a city council meeting approved. But we can absolutely include it in our onboarding process.
Ask the mayor for the information.
Either way.
Good luck with
I would think you'd wanna tell us what you want us to know. What the mayor wants.
I already sent mine. I don't need brownie points, but I did.
So if you can send it to Karen, she'll put it together and then she'll send it all.
I think photos would be helpful for me, actually. I know you might maybe jokingly said you don't have to, but a headshot would help me do some.
And I will, say that we did have, we used to have on our website names and headshots. And we had a request from a board member to not, a previous board member, who's no longer on the board, so it's fine. But you're open to,
I mean, for
For our internally.
For our internal packet to get
Okay.
to know each
There are public libraries that do put all of that on the website. I'm not asking. For now, for this. People don't feel comfortable doing that. That's at least. Okay. What else? 8A, receiving and filing the 2024 grant request, which highlights how library staff are prioritizing.
So here is a kudos and big thank you to Friends of the Library. This is the allocation from auditorium sales and online sales and the auditorium sales. Bookstore money is totally separate, so you'll see a completely separate amount in January, February-ish. We get a big giant lovely check. That money goes towards materials, towards collection. But this money, we really goes towards promoting or supporting programming and services. And here is the breakdown. This is one that the board doesn't need to any action on. This is, something we just receive and then provide you the information. Allocating this money. Last year, we were able to do some really great things with it, including some of our programming, our open house, logistics, databases, seed library things. So we're really appreciative of this. That helps us to provide better services and programs for our customers, our community. And I want to highlight that this year, the Friends have had a little bit of extra that they've been able to carry over for a number of years. So this year, this allocation is higher than it was last year by 2,000. It was a significant amount. So we would like to see it, and we'll take it if it happens every year, but we also don't necessarily expect it to be happening every year. But
If everybody comes and buys an awful lot of cookies and books at the Good Quality Sale, then you'll get that.
Any questions about this allocation? We're really fortunate and lucky to have two amazing organizations that.
Thank you.
Questions, answers? Before we get down to adjournment, there has been a little bit of discussion about how we're supposed to end the meeting. I actually got a Robert's Rules of Order that's laminated. And I figured, well, if I find myself standing in the pouring rain and I need Robert's Rules of Order, I'm set. But ending the meeting, I won't read all of this, but the difference in terms of the chair ending a meeting is if, well, let me read this. The motion to adjourn must, like all motions, be seconded and voted upon so that the chairperson cannot end a meeting without this assembly's consent. If all business is finished and the pre-selected hour, which we do not have, to adjourn has arrived, the assembly need not move to adjourn. The chairperson may ask, is there any further business? If there is none, the chairperson may then say, then I hereby adjourn this meeting. So because we don't have a pre-selected hour at 5:30, we have to move a second. That's yes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? But Steve did make a good point that what if the majority doesn't want to adjourn? What do we do?
And
Then you have to keep it
and you stay there.
You just say.
You sit there and stay there.
Wrap open a beer.
The other issue is if anybody wants to take something off the consent agenda to discuss it, we should identify that when we approve the agenda right up